Welcome to Season 2 of the More You Know Media and Tech Literacy series, produced by Independent Thinker, LLC. The More You Know Media and Tech Literacy series is a quarterly educational initiative that helps individuals and communities better understand the realities of today's digital ecosystem. In Episode 10, we cover Spearfishing, how nation-states weaponize your trust. We turn the mic to Tommy and Gina for an insightful discussion about this topic.
Imagine you are sitting at your local coffee shop. You pull out your phone, you open the camera, and you scan a QR code that's taped to the corner of your table just to pull up the menu.
Right, something we all do, like every single day.
Exactly. You don't type in a password, you don't download a file, you don't fill out a form. But in that single, seemingly harmless second, your entire end-to-end encrypted WhatsApp history is quietly copied and transmitted directly to a foreign intelligence agency.
It's a terrifying scenario.
And you just order your latte,
Yeah.
completely unaware that your digital life has just been turned totally inside out.
I mean, it's wild primarily because it completely bypasses the traditional alarms we've been trained to look out for,
Yeah.
We usually picture a cyber attack like someone trying every single key on a massive keyring until the lock finally clicks.
Just a very noisy brute force intrusion.
Exactly. But the threat landscape has completely abandoned the digital keyring.
Which brings us to today's topic. Welcome to the Deep Dog, everyone. Our mission today is to unpack the highly sophisticated, incredibly quiet evolution of spearfishing.
Yeah, and we have some really incredible sources for this.
We do. We are diving into research from a fascinating panel hosted by the digital rights group Access Now. And this panel brought together analysts from cybersecurity heavyweights like Citizen Lab, Lookout, and Resident.
And what they lay out is it's a stark warning.
Oh, for sure. We are not talking about those clunky, typo-ridden spam emails from unverified princes anymore. We are looking at highly customized psychological warfare deployed by nation-states and how those exact same tactics can threaten you.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the brutal economics driving this shift. If we look at high-conflict regions, particularly across Eastern Europe, spearfishing is the number 1, number 2, and number 3 attack method.
Wow, really?
Yeah. The reason is simple. It is incredibly cheap and carries almost zero risk.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because, is it cheaper than buying some $1 million zero-day spyware?
Oh, significantly. There are ready-made phishing kits available on the dark web that require essentially zero technical expertise to deploy.
So anyone can just buy them?
Pretty much. And think about the risk profile compared to a traditional hack. If an attacker tries to actively breach a corporate network, they might trigger a firewall.
Right, or their IP address gets logged.
Exactly. Their proprietary tools get exposed and burned by security researchers. But with spearfishing, they just send a tailored lure.
And if the target doesn't click?
Nothing happens. The attacker just shrugs, tweaks the language a bit, and tries again tomorrow.
That is crazy. There are basically no repercussions for failure. So they can afford to just keep rolling the dice.
Exactly.
But to understand how these modern attacks actually succeed, where, our spam filters used to protect us, we have to understand what the attackers are actually after. They aren't trying to steal your credit card number to buy a TV.
No. The goals are entirely systemic. Authoritarian states, the research specifically scrutinized countries like Russia and China, they utilize these attacks to conduct what the panel called preemptive repression.
Preemptive repression. That is a chilling phrase. What does that actually look like for the people on the ground?
Well, it means the state is not waiting for a protest to materialize in the streets to start arresting people.
Right. They want to stop it before it even happens.
Exactly. By infiltrating digital communications early, they can learn about advocacy work or community organization or policy planning while it's still just an idea.
Wow.
Yeah, and if they can compromise the inbox of just one key organizer, they map out the entire network. They identify the leadership, the meeting locations, the funding sources.
And then they just swoop in.
Right, they intervene early, often arresting individuals for simply discussing how to organize.
And the sources noted that these campaigns specifically target marginalized groups, right? Like the Uyghur community, Tibetans, and Taiwanese individuals.
Yes. And the attackers heavily exploit the fact that these communities rely so much on digital safe spaces.
Like private Telegram channels or specific regional VPNs.
Exactly, just to communicate without being monitored. And they exploit the regional infrastructure, too. If a secure communication tool isn't available in a specific regional dialect, attackers will gladly step in and provide a malicious alternative.
Oh, that's insidious.
It really is. They build apps that look and function perfectly tailored to that specific community, but they are laced with surveillance software.
Wait, I have to stop you there. Spending weeks chatting in a regional dialect, building custom apps, isn't that a massive waste of resources for a foreign intelligence agency?
You would think so, but no.
Like, why not just spam a million people with a fake login page and see who bites?
Well, because spamming a million people sets off alarms across the global cybersecurity infrastructure, but more importantly, they don't need a million people.
Right, they just need the right people.
Exactly. That is the core of preemptive repression. If they infiltrate the right community organizer, that single inbox gives them the entire network. So spending 3 weeks chatting with a target is actually an incredibly efficient use of an intelligence officer's time.
It's basically the ultimate long con. And the research details how these attackers deploy what are called sock puppet accounts to run this con.
Oh yeah, the sock puppets.
When you dig into how these intelligence agencies actually operate, you find they are building entire digital alternate realities. These aren't just fake Twitter profiles with a stolen stock photo.
Right, it's way deeper than that.
We are talking about fake personas with deep backstories, networks of fake mutual friends to provide social proof, and fully fleshed out websites for the fake NGOs or companies they supposedly work for.
And by taking the time to build that trust, the attacker completely short-circuits the target's natural skepticism.
Right, because you are naturally suspicious of a link from a stranger.
Of course. But you do not question a link sent by a fellow activist you've been collaborating with for a month.
Which completely changes our mental model of a hacker. It's not a smash and grab. It's a con artist moving into your spare bedroom. Like, they are acting as digital undercover agents.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these attackers have the mandate and the budget to be patient. They map out these vulnerable communities, find the most trusting individual, the weakest link, and exploit human nature's fundamental desire for connection and safety.
So the attacker establishes trust, they map the community, and they wait. But the 1-2 punch the panel described shows how the actual trap is sprung.
Yeah, this part is really clever.
It usually starts with something totally innocuous.
Yeah.
The attacker, who now has this deep rapport, requests an interview with the target. They say, I'm going to send you a link to our secure cloud server so you can download the interview questions.
Which, in a professional context, sounds entirely reasonable.
Exactly. So the target clicks the link, and they hit a login page for this secure cloud. They type in their password, and the attacker instantly captures it. But here is the brilliant, awful part. The target is then allowed to successfully download the PDF of the interview questions.
Right, the attacker doesn't just throw up an error message. Delivering the actual document makes the target feel like the login was legitimate.
But wait, if they already stole the password at the fake login screen, why even bother giving them the PDF? What does the attacker gain from that?
Because the PDF itself contains hidden malware. This is the 1-2 punch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they steal the password to compromise your cloud accounts, and they drop malware onto your local hard drive in a single interaction. They layer the attacks.
But even if you catch on, it's too late.
Exactly. Even if you realize the login was sketchy and change your password 5 minutes later, it doesn't matter. The malware is already inside your machine, quietly recording your keystrokes.
But the 1-2 punch still assumes the attacker needs a password. What happens when they bypass the login screen entirely?
The quick fix.
Yes. This brings us to the click fix, which absolutely blew my mind. Picture this. You visit a website, maybe trying to read a news article, and you are presented with a CAPI-TCHA screen.
You know, the prove you are human test.
Right. But instead of asking you to click on pictures of crosswalks, it gives you a string of text. The screen tells you to press the Windows key and R on your keyboard, paste the text into the box that pops up, and hit Enter to verify you aren't a robot.
And we have to look at the psychology here. The user is confused, yes, but muscle memory kicks in.
Right. We just want to read the article.
We are so conditioned to just jump through whatever annoying hoop a website puts up so we can get to the content.
So the user follows the instructions. But what is actually happening technically?
Well, when you press Windows and R, you are opening your computer's run command terminal.
Right.
By pasting that specific text and hitting Enter, you aren't verifying anything. You are natively executing the malware yourself.
That's terrifying.
And that is the genius of the exploit. Because you are inputting the command directly into the terminal, the computer assumes you, the administrator, know exactly what you are doing.
So it doesn't even block it.
Nope. It completely bypasses standard antivirus warnings because it registers as an authorized user command, not an external attack.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The physical and digital worlds are colliding. We talked about that coffee shop QR code earlier.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
How is a sticker on a table physically compromising an encrypted app like WhatsApp or Signal? What is actually happening in the hardware there?
It exploits a legitimate convenience feature. Secure messaging apps allow you to link your mobile phone to your laptop browser so you can type on a full keyboard.
Right, I use that all the time.
Right. And to do this, you usually scan a QR code displayed on your laptop screen. Attackers are generating their own linking QR codes and placing them in public physical spaces.
Sneaky.
Very. When you scan the sticker at the coffee shop, your phone thinks it's authorizing a new linked device. It syncs your entire encrypted chat history directly to the attacker's laptop, sitting half a world away.
So they're leveraging the very conveniences built into our technology against us.
Precisely. The industry historically focused on credential phishing, tricking you into typing a password. But these newer methods abandon the password entirely.
Wow.
Another perfect example is the exploitation of iOS corporate profiles.
Oh, right, because Apple usually forces you to download apps through their heavily guarded app store. That's a major selling point for their security.
Yes, but massive corporations need a way to install custom internal apps on their employees' iPhones without publishing them to the public app store.
Makes sense.
So Apple allows this through what are called corporate profiles. Attackers hijack this backdoor. Through social engineering, they convince a target to install a malicious corporate profile.
And then what?
Once you do that, your phone suddenly treats the attacker like your official IT department.
Meaning the attacker can bypass the App Store entirely and quietly install surveillance software in the background.
Exactly. And the toolkit gets even more invisible when we look at no-click threats, like tracking pixels.
I was really hoping we would cover this.
Mhm.
This is the stuff that makes you want to throw your router into the ocean.
It's pretty bleak, yeah. The researchers noted that an attacker doesn't always need you to click a link or download a file.
Wait, really?
Yeah. If your email client is set to automatically load remote content like images, the attacker can embed a microscopic, invisible, one-by-one pixel in the body of an email.
So I just open the email to read the text. I don't click anything. What happens?
The moment the email opens, your app reaches out to the internet to load that invisible pixel. In doing so, it quietly sends a signal back to the attacker's server.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That signal contains your IP address, your exact geographical location, and details about your device's operating system.
Just from opening an email.
Without a single click, they have gathered the exact reconnaissance data they need to craft a more lethal, targeted exploit tailored specifically to your phone's vulnerabilities.
So the traps are invisible, and the attackers are infinitely patient. But it brings up a huge question.
Which is?
How do they know exactly what to say to make you trust them in the first place? How are they building these perfect psychological lures?
Right. The answer lies in how our everyday digital habits are being weaponized against us.
And this is where we see the terrifying intersection of artificial intelligence and everyday digital commerce. Let's look at the AI piece first.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Historically, if you got a phishing email, the easiest way to spot it was awkward phrasing. A non-native speaker trying to sound local, using weird grammar.
Exactly. The typos were the dead giveaway.
But the experts noted that AI completely obliterates that language barrier. Attackers can now generate flawless, native-sounding regional messages at scale. But the truly devastating use of AI happens after an initial breach, right?
Right, because if an attacker manages to compromise just one person's inbox, they don't just blast out a generic spam email to all their contacts anymore.
They're smarter than that now.
Way smarter. They deploy AI tools to scrape the entire history of that inbox. The AI ingests thousands of emails and learns the exact tone, the specific vocabulary, the inside jokes, and the communication rhythm of the victim.
So if I'm the next target, I get an email from my coworker. But it's not just from their email address. It sounds exactly like them.
Exactly like them.
It references a project we are actively working on using the exact abbreviations we use in the office.
The forgery is basically indistinguishable from reality, but AI is only part of the equation. To build these profiles, intelligence agencies don't just rely on hacking.
Right.
They use public data. The panel issued a very explicit warning about the surveillance state tapping into the advertising industry, specifically real-time bidding, or RTB, data.
This was the part that fundamentally shifted how I view the internet. We all know companies track us to sell us shoes.
Ah.
But how does an intelligence agency use advertising data to hack an activist?
To understand this, we have to look at what RTB actually is. Every time you load a web page or open an app with ads, in the milliseconds before the page appears, an invisible auction happens.
Okay.
Advertisers bid on your eyeballs based on your profile. Data brokers are constantly scooping up the details of these auctions.
And what kind of details are in that auction data?
Everything.
Well,
Your location, the articles you read, the apps you use, your search history. Intelligence agencies are essentially tapping into that auction house.
legally.
Yes. They don't have to hack your phone to know your location. They just legally purchase the commercial RTB data that says your specific IP address loaded an article about a local protest at 2:00 p.m.
It is mind-blowing. It's like you diligently shred your bank statements and lock your doors, only to find out a spy agency is legally buying your garbage from the city.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. They go through your trash, piecing together your magazine subscriptions and grocery receipts, just so they can forge the perfect, irresistible letter from your favorite editor.
And this raises an important question about the artificial line we draw between privacy and security. For a long time, people have treated privacy as a luxury, something you only worry about if you have something to hide.
Right, like, I don't care if they know what shoes I like.
Exactly. But the researchers made it clear. Refusing cookies, using ad blockers, opting out of tracking, these aren't just about avoiding annoying targeted ads, they are critical security defense mechanisms.
Because the attacker's goal is to remove the vacuum around you.
Exactly. An attacker views your digital life as a web. They take the phone contacts they scraped from a compromised colleague, and they combine that with the passive RTB ad data they bought from a data broker to connect all your digital dots.
So if you cut off the ad data,
Denying them that ad data breaks those connections. It starves them of the raw material they need to build a convincing lure.
now, if you're listening to this thinking, I'm not an international journalist or an activist, why would China or Russia care about my ad data? It's important to remember how these networks operate.
Oh, absolutely.
You might not be the ultimate target, but you might be the trusting stepping stone to someone who is. Your compromised inbox could be the weapon used against your company or your community.
Which is why the defense strategies discussed by the panel are so critical.
And with nation-states legally buying our ad data and AI writing flawless lures to drop zero-click tracking pixels, I mean, the situation sounds incredibly bleak.
Yeah.
But the deep dive doesn't end there.
Thankfully, no.
The Access Now panel pivoted hard into concrete, actionable defenses. And the first major paradigm shift is how we handle blame.
Yeah, in heavily targeted regions, cybersecurity experts have realized that constantly trying to train individual end users to spot these hyper-advanced attacks is a losing battle.
Right.
The human brain is simply not wired to spot a flawless AI forgery of a trusted friend.
The researchers argue that we have to move the burden to organizational management. Organizations need to implement centralized security settings, distribute managed corporate devices rather than relying on personal phones, and mandate strict system-wide security policies.
Because you can't just tell an activist, hey, don't click bad links, when the bad links look identical to the real ones.
Exactly, the system itself has to protect them.
But for you, the listener, navigating this on your own laptop or phone, the panel did provide highly actionable technical steps you can take right now to harden your defenses.
Yes, let's run through the playbook. First, go into your messaging apps, WhatsApp, Signal, iMessage, and your email clients, and dig into the settings to turn off the auto-loading of images and remote URLs.
Such a simple step, but so important.
It really is. This stops those invisible tracking pixels dead in their tracks because your phone will no longer automatically reach out to the attacker's server when you open a message.
Second, if you are someone who might be a target, utilize the built-in advanced protections on your devices. For iPhone users, the panel strongly recommended enabling Apple's lockdown mode.
And Android has something similar too, right?
Yeah, Android users have a feature called Advanced Protection.
What do those modes actually do, like under the hood?
They drastically reduce the attack surface of your phone. They disable a lot of the complex conveniences that attackers exploit, like complex message attachments, certain web browsing technologies, and auto-joining Wi-Fi networks.
Got it.
It makes your phone slightly less convenient, but significantly more secure against zero-click attacks.
Okay, third step. Never click a suspicious link blindly, even if it's from a friend. The experts recommended using online sandboxes like urlscan.io or VirusTotal.
Highly recommend those.
You can copy a link, paste it into these tools, and they will virtually visit the site for you. They scan the destination to tell you if it contains known malware or a fake login screen, without your device ever actually touching the malicious code.
And finally, the most low-tech but highly effective advice: verify across different channels.
Yes.
If a known contact sends you an unexpected link to a secure cloud server or asks for sensitive information via Telegram, do not reply on Telegram.
Call them on the phone.
Call them on the phone, send them a separate email, reach out through a completely different medium to verify they actually sent it.
So what does this all mean? The most profound takeaway from the panel wasn't a software setting at all. It was about combating the culture of shame.
Yeah, this is so crucial.
The experts talked about how victims of these attacks almost always feel deeply ashamed. They feel stupid for falling for a con, so they hide the fact that their account was compromised.
Which is the worst possible outcome, because hiding a compromise only protects the attacker.
Exactly.
It leaves the victim's contacts totally blind and incredibly vulnerable to the AI-driven impersonation we discussed earlier.
We have to absolutely stop victim blaming in cybersecurity. The attackers are brilliant, they are infinitely patient, and they're using military-grade tactics. Anyone can fall for these tricks under the right circumstances.
Anyone.
The panel stressed that transparency is our absolute best defense. Think of it like a biological immune system. If you report an attack to the platforms, like using Apple Junk Report feature or warning your IT department, you are sharing anybody's.
Right.
The tech companies use that data to tune their sensors and protect thousands of others.
A failed attack, or a swiftly reported successful attack, is a massive intelligence victory for the defender. If you spot a phishing attempt, you now know exactly what the attacker is interested in.
You can analyze the lore.
You can analyze it, and you can warn your entire community. Security is not an individual failing, it is a collective responsibility. It requires tech companies to write clear, jargon-free security warnings, and it requires users to stay vigilant and talk to each other without shame.
To wrap up this deep dive, the message is clear. Spearfishing is no longer just a technical exploit. It is a patient, psychology-driven campaign, supercharged by AI and fueled by our own passive ad data.
Right.
But by utilizing tools like lockdown modes, disabling auto-downloads, aggressively verifying your contacts across different channels, and most importantly, refusing to hide in shame when an attack happens, you can build a highly resilient defense.
But I do want to leave you with one final unsettling question to mull over as you look at your inbox today. We discussed how AI is already being used to perfectly mimic a colleague's writing style in text. But as audio and video deepfakes become just as cheap and accessible as these ready-made phishing kits,
Oh, man.
how will we adapt our trust but verify mindset? What happens to our defenses when a live interactive video call from your boss might just be another deeper layer of the spearfishing long con?
It really makes you think. It turns out, securing our digital lives isn't about replacing a broken deadbolt anymore. It's about figuring out how to spot the ultimate con artist, even when they're wearing the face and speaking with the voice of someone you trust. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.
For more episodes related to media, social media, tech, and privacy, visit our YouTube channel, Independent Thinker LLC.